Well, good morning, everyone. And so I guess somebody said this is Hurricane Imelda. We're getting the leftovers. So it's, or maybe tropical depression. And if Imelda's depressed, well, she's come to the right place. Because we're all about less suffering and more happiness here. So I have a little reading for you here. This came from Aya Kema, and it's just a little reading I'll share with you. We arrived here on this earth with 6 roots, 3 wholesome roots and 3 unwholesome roots. The roots of unwholesomeness are fear, hatred, and delusion. The roots of wholesomeness are generosity, love, and wisdom. Recognizing which of the 6 roots we are dealing with at the moment is crucial, lest we water the weeds. And so the talk today on getting to the root stems from I'm just channeling this, don't shoot the messenger. Stems from some experiences I've been having the past 3 or 4 months, so I can't wait to tell you about it, because you've heard me often talk about it's not what happens to us, it's what happens within us. In other words, another way of saying that is that life isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. And so to really embody that, I have to tell you a little bit about this stuff that's been going on with me the past couple months. So for a couple months now, I've been noticing feelings of overwhelm that have arisen. And it seems like my to-do lists are in a race, the first one to 1,000 wins. And so this overwhelm, and it's not just Temple Buddhist Center, but it's issues with, I'm a caretaker for my mother and some other personal things, so all these things seem to be conspiring and plotting to overthrow Victor. And so this feeling then moves to a frustration as it carries on and starts interfering with, the things that I, quote unquote, want to be doing, blah, 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 whatever, insert whatever there. Frustration, and also frustration around this sense of not getting help, So there's this outward, external looking for help, wondering where the heck everybody is and why things are not happening. And then this ultimately then triggers a feeling of isolation. Isolation. Where is everybody? And oddly enough, I even had this dream where I was standing looking at a burning building, and I was with a whole bunch of people, and I was like, let's get in there and save everybody. And so I run, and I get right up to the building, and I turn around, and there's nobody there. Everybody was gone. Interesting dream, right? A teaching dream. Now, what's so fascinating about this is that with that feeling of isolation, I would then start adding more things to my to-do list, because the busier you are, the less you have to feel some of these negative feelings, frustration, overwhelm, isolation. So I add things to the list to try to be around more people or to have more things to do. So do you see the growth cycle? There it is. There's the whole cycle right there. Feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, isolated, so I add more things to do to try to be around more people or to stay busy so I don't have to feel those feelings. And that's how the weeds, they grow, they flower, they seed, and then it just kind of is a cycle. It goes on and on and on like that. And so I have this beautiful garden of weeds now that I have grown. And as you know, because I've talked about these things all the time, I may be a slow learner, but I'm sure. So once the intensity of this got to be enough, okay, so I'm finally at this tipping point, which again is perfect. This is all perfect. There's nothing wrong here. There's nothing going wrong. This is the beautiful cycle of awakening. As we begin to realize what's going on here? And I noticed that I was looking outside, wondering where everybody was at, why I can't get people to help me, looking outside, external. And so then when things got just intense enough, I could see it. Up until then, it was that slow boil, right? Things are just kind of, I can still handle it. And all of a sudden, I can't handle it. It's becoming very, very difficult. And so that's when I'm like, oh, there's an issue. And so in form, the practice kicks in, and I began to see what's going on. So I took it into contemplation, I took it into meditation, and I took it into dialogue. Dialogue with spiritual friends, with my teacher, the readings, YouTubes, and began with a playful curiosity, I cannot emphasize that enough, looking at what's going on here. Because what we know in our Buddhist practice is that there's nothing going on out there. It's not about the to-do lists. It's not about people showing up or not showing up. It is, however, about the feelings that arise. So as I took this into contemplation and inquiry and dialogue, here's what arose. I scraped away, I brushed away the dirt, and I found the root to the weeds. There is underneath all that a core belief buried somewhere down here under the ground in the darkness, a core belief of unworthiness, not deserving help. Where did this root come from? It's conditioning. As little kids, as children, we do not have the tools to process. We do not have the tools to deal with the things that occur. So with an alcoholic mother and an absent father, a 5-year-old kid thinks, oh, I'm driving everybody away. They think it's them. And so these buttons, these roots, get planted very, very early. And they begin to germinate, and they begin to work. And they can only work while they remain under the dirt and hidden. And oh yeah, I'm weed whacking, and I'm clipping, and I'm doing all these external top type things, but you never get to the root until you get to the cushion, until you get to stillness. Because busyness covers over the ability to see these things. In our meditation, the insights can arise because there's nothing to get in the way of you seeing them. So with contemplation, with inquiry, I began to see that there was a core root of unworthiness there that had been planted a long time ago. Now, how did this root manifest? Well, it was very interesting. Playful curiosity, somebody said. I'm looking at this root, and here's how it was manifesting. This core element of not deserving help was, number one, amplifying the feelings of nobody helping me. What's wrong with everybody? Why is nobody helping me? What are people doing? Blah, 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 blah. All of it delusion. The second way that it manifested was I wasn't asking for help. Or I would ask people I knew full well could not help me. Because then I get to justify, right? The root's going, yeah, nobody's helping you. What's the matter with everybody? Justify all this external anger and delusion. And the other way it showed up is that there were blocks. So when people would come to me and say, what can I do to help? I'd be like, can I get back to you? And of course, then I would never contact them again. This is how we create our reality. And it's not that I wasn't receiving help, it's that I couldn't receive help. Because there was something working underneath the ground in the darkness that I was unaware of, which is the only place they can work. Once we shine the light of awareness on it through our meditation and mindfulness practice, they're brought into the light. The roots cannot survive in the light. They need to stay underground in the darkness and the dampness. So as these things were manifesting, not asking for help, not being able to tell people what it was I needed when they would ask me, this is how we create our reality. This is how we fall asleep, and this is how we wake up. Self-inquiry, going in here. It's not what happens to us, it's what happens in us. This is where we find the answers. The Buddha said, you have everything you need right here and right now to wake up. But yet, we keep looking outside, wondering where everybody's at, why no one's helping us, why no one's loving us. This works in all situations, with all core issues, with all core beliefs that we may not be fully aware of. It's almost like 90% of the time, it's not what frustrates and angers you. That's not it. That's just the catalyst. That's just the trigger. The truth is in here somewhere. So what to do with the root? Well, first, awareness is key and is really 3/4 of the battle. Once we become aware of it, and I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. It's a core issue of not deserving help, of not being worthy of help. This is an old tape that the little boy developed many, many, many years ago. I see what's going on. And once I brought this into the light of awareness and could contemplate it, could purify it, could work with it, all of a sudden since then, I've hired a person to help me. I've had numerous people show up, and I said, I tell you what, I don't know what to tell you to do, but here's a list of 435 things. You pick. And help is, and all of a sudden, it's abundant universe. It's always been there, always has. I just couldn't see it. I couldn't receive it. So just becoming aware of it is half the battle. Also, I took this little clipping from a book by Lynn Marie called Awakened Relationships, and I really liked it. And I made a few copies here, and if you guys go through them, then I can make some more for you, or maybe I'll post them. But she says this: negative self-beliefs need to be addressed on several levels for us to truly transform them. Number one is awareness. That is such a point of rejoicing, because most people simply suffer with those roots the rest of their lives, wondering why some external reason hasn't come to help them. Some external person hasn't shown up to love them. And so as we investigate with a playful curiosity, we go in and we purify, all of a sudden, help is abundant. Love is abundant. And we're only then are we able and ready to see it. So here they are. These are her A, B, C, D, E, and F, her ABCs. Number one, awareness. Number two, look at the belief. Identify what belief in unworthiness was triggered by your circumstances or your thought. Make the belief into a statement such as, I am unworthy of love, or I am not good enough, or I do not deserve help, and write that down. Now, you're not affirming that. You're getting it out into the light of the day. You're writing it down. What was this core belief? What was this little voice saying to me that was so quiet and working under the radar? Next, letter C, conditioning. Take time to reflect on the conditioning that created this belief of unworthiness, this belief that you are not lovable, whatever this core belief is. Contemplate the messages that you heard in your life from mom, dad, brothers, sisters, teachers, ministers, pastors, whatever experience occurred that you were unable to deal with, unable to process, that created this core belief, this little voice. Letter D, now go deeper. The roots are deeper. Go deeper. Ask yourself why you're believing this statement. How is it serving you to believe that you are unworthy of help or love? Now, this can be tricky because, see, at first glance, there seems to be no benefit from believing this thing that I am unworthy. But, oh, there is a flower on the thistle. Because, see, if, for example, if we look deeper, we can see that we're trying to protect ourselves. Here's the example. If you have a core belief that you are unworthy of love, then we will not get hurt if we open ourselves up to love. If I open myself up and I ask people to help, and then somebody doesn't help or doesn't show up or doesn't do it right or any other myriad judgments, then that can become, that can anger me. It's like, oh, see, nobody ever does it right. Let me give you another example. As a singer-songwriter, I created a CD of my favorite songs that I wrote, about 10 of them. I created it in 2011. I didn't publish it until 2013. Why? What if no one bought it? What if no one liked the CD? You see, there's a vulnerability in putting ourselves out there to ask for help. To ask for help is to be vulnerable. It's to say that I can't do this alone. To put out a piece of artwork or a poem or a story is to be vulnerable, because what if somebody doesn't like it or doesn't understand it? Oh, I'm crushed. And that's a delusion. Because, see, that's identifying with the poem or the story or whatever it is. And we don't, as the old saying goes, a bird doesn't sing because it can. It sings because it has a song. We don't write poems. We don't create because we're, putting that out there to make a living. We create because that's what we do. We are creation. That's why we create. We can't not. It might be food or dinner or poems or art or songs or whatever, but we create. But when we attach our identification to that and our whole life is wrapped up in this song or poem, then we have mistakenly placed our identity outside of ourselves. So go deeper. See if you can find the flower on the thistle. What benefit is happening? What protection is occurring because you're believing this old tape, this old statement? And next, letter E, elevate. Let's process, elevate, move your consciousness and transcend this belief, realizing that this is not who you are. I have a body, but I am not my body. I have feelings and emotions, but I am not my feelings and emotions. And I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. I am who is aware of these things as they rise and fall, come and go. And finally, the letter F, freedom. We find freedom from the belief in unworthiness or being unlovable by seeing it for what it truly is. Just a belief, just a little tape, just a little voice, a core belief that was installed a long time ago when you were young and unable to process this. By connecting to our true, deeper nature, which is what we do in meditation. As we connect with our true essence, it provides a contrast to this root that operates underneath the ground. When we connect with that, we find clarity. We can see the absurdity of our reasoning for keeping a negative belief around. We can process and purify this belief. I had a friend tell me one time that she thinks of them as a dove, and she ties the name of the belief onto the leg and sets it free, releases it. A burning bowl. Whatever ceremony or ritual works for you, you can process and purify and release this belief and come back to the present moment and just realize that right now I need help. So you send out a blurb on the Facebook or an email blast, or you tell a friend to start telling people that if they're interested in helping, that come contact me. Or you write a list of everything that you need help with and just start passing it out. And it's an abundant universe. People want to help. Underneath this conditioning, this root, is our true magnificent beauty, this radiant essence that we are, free of judgment, free of commentary, free of beliefs. It's just presence. So all this pain and suffering that I created over the couple months was necessary. It wasn't wrong, it wasn't bad, it was a messenger saying, hey, there's something going on that you need to take a look at. And so in our practice, in mindfulness, meditation, contemplation, we take it to the cushion, we talk with teachers, spiritual friends, we do readings in the Dharma, and we, with a playful curiosity, go in and inquire as to what is going on. We know who we truly are. And when the old conditioned negative sense of self arises, we know that we can simply allow that to be there. We can inquire and investigate and then dissolve into the presence of our very own being. This is how we wake up.